Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Hi, I'm DK Will. This is DK Will. Talk about it. And we're going to touch on the declining US dollar again. And hopefully, after we're done this video, my viewers will recognize the need to consider some other places for your funds besides the US dollar. If you recall, I did a video, Can You See What Kenya Sees? Because Kenya made the move to go away from the dollar. And let's listen in to President Ruto's comments, just a reminder from that prior video, and the line of reasoning that makes a lot of sense to him, and as we'll see, makes a lot of sense to a lot of others. XRP.
That is why
And Ripple.
Kenya champions the Pan-African payment and settlement system that is done by our own institution, the Afrexim Bank. Why, members? Why is it necessary for us to buy things from Djibouti and pay in dollars? Why?
And more countries are determining that there is no reason to allow the continued hegemony of the US dollar, and they are more and more switching to their own local currencies to do trade amongst themselves. And so you'll notice this is a clip from a prior video. It started out, I said XRP, and then I said Ripple, because that's really the underpinning of all of this, folks. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted to bring that out and remind us of his words, because other countries are following that trend, and along with the BRICS information that I've given. So let's dig just a little bit deeper in that little rabbit hole and see what we can come out of it. Because it was also brought to our attention in that prior video from this article from Watcher Guru, how with the BRICS nations, 30 countries participated to ditch the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And if you recall, that article brought out that a growing number of countries are coming forward to join BRICS and accept the new currency for global trade, which BRICS probably now has released by now. And then, I talk a lot about XRP, Ripple, cryptocurrencies, gold, and this all really started with Iraq. Remember, the IQD, the Iraqi dinar, is where most of those who are watching this video and most of those who probably picked on this video originated. But we need to expand the same way the globe is expanding in our financial perspectives, in our financial paradigms, and that's what I'm trying to help us to do. Because if you forgot or you didn't watch the prior video, I encourage you to go watch it. And while I'm here, I said myself earlier, I need to say this sooner, so I'm going to say this sooner. If you like what I do here, please subscribe. Keep this going, give me a boost. And I'm not making money, but I sure will make effort when I see that the effort is worth it. So subscribe, hit a like button, make a comment. I'm so small, I still can read every single comment and reply to every single comment. And I'll do that for as long as I can. But like I mentioned, don't think for 1 minute this doesn't involve the Iraqi dinar, because in that prior video, if you watched it, good. If you didn't, go watch it. Remember, we brought out that Iraq had banned the US dollar. Now, this is all phenomenal and good news for us, but what it really shows is that there is a new monetary system being put in place, folks. And that monetary system does not include the United States dollar as the reserve currency. That's just what's going to happen. And this article even touched on that fact. It mentions that Iraq's Interior Ministry placed a ban on US dollar transactions across the country in a move to do what? To strengthen the Iraqi dinar. So folks, the information is starting to come together, that all this information that I've been sending out since I started doing these videos is useful. Yes, cryptocurrency and blockchain is the future. And now it's in the mainstream. Yes, now they're putting BlackRocks and JP Morgans and everybody else into it because they're ready and they want you to come and be the source of liquidity. Be that source of liquidity, but be it early so that when the rest come in, you can use the rest as a source of liquidity and take some funds and run. But in the same way, is the dollar the place you want to go? Well, let's consider some more material in that regard, in the fact that the use of the United States dollar is declining. It's undeniable. It's absolutely undeniable. Let's check out some more information. And the U.S. has been kind of its own worst enemy by using sanctions of the U.S. dollar having, infiltrated so many countries. I think 60-some% of the countries had the US dollar as a primary reserve currency in their central banks. And the US kind of destroyed itself by using these sanctions. And as it says here in this article back from April of 21, sanctions are destroying US dollar's status as the world's top currency. What it has done is that it has motivated other countries to look for a different outlet, just like the reasoning behind President Ruto that we began this video with when he was asking the question, why? Why is a US dollar a part of trade between him and another country? And this article says that the United States' reliance on economic sanctions to coerce other countries is gradually losing its effectiveness and slowly degrading one of Washington's most influential tools in international affairs, the power of the US dollar. Keep in mind, Keep in mind, this article is from 2021. We're in 2023 and beyond, so this is a 2-year article. It says the greenback stands in a class of its own as the most popular and robust currency across the international banking system, outsizing its next largest competitor, the euro, by a factor of nearly 3-to-1. When it comes to currency, the dollar is by far the world's safest bet. Okay, folks, that was then, and this is now. Because in 2022 of March of 2022, it mentions that Washington's trigger-happy sanctions may push countries away from the dollar, says a think tank. It's not a may anymore, folks. It's a fact, as we have seen, and you'll recall from earlier portions of this video. But it says central banks are starting to question whether reliance on the US dollar is a good idea. The United States has extended itself, has been extremely trigger-happy when it comes to the use of sanctions and other economic punishments. But what we want to get out of here is that the United States' approach to sanctions and debt is unsustainable. It has absolutely been unsustainable, folks. And we can see as we go even further along that countries worldwide, now this is coming more closer to our time. Now we're in April of 2023. Countries worldwide are dropping the US dollar. De-dollarization in China, Russia, Brazil, and the ASEAN countries. Now China, Russia, Brazil, I mean that's 3 out of 5 of the BRICS nations right there. And then India is mentioned in the article. It says the global de-dollarization campaign is gaining momentum as countries around the world seek alternatives to the hegemony of the US dollar. China, Russia, Brazil, India, ASEAN countries, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates are now using local currencies in trade. Did you just see that major decline in just those nations alone in the use of the US dollar for trade? Now, of course, the US has this atom bomb. It's called the XRP, on-demand liquidity, Ripple, all that. But nonetheless, the fiat US dollar is dying. So I'm hoping that my viewers understand that we need to look for other places to put our money, and it may not be that USD. You hear what I'm saying? Because this article here, which I couldn't date it, so I don't know what to say, but it talks about how 23 countries are now abandoning the US dollar. Well, we've already seen earlier from earlier information that 30 countries have abandoned the US dollar. And so these 23 countries at that time made up 60% of the world's GDP. 60%, folks, which bypassed the dollar and SWIFT, which is a dollar-based worldwide financial transaction system. And then it lists some more of those countries. Well, when we go to the current news, it hasn't stopped yet. And in that prior video, it mentioned how 2 Eastern African nations were going away from the dollar. And of course, we talked about Kenya, who is about as far east as you can go, absent Somalia and somewhere else that's over there. But here from News, Rumors, and Opinions of today, 6/27, 2023. Africa continues to fight against the use of the dollar as Tanzania bans pricing in dollars. The Bank of Tanzania instructs firms to comply with regulations and kaput, pricing products and services in dollars to relieve pressure on the local currency. The recent surge in foreign exchange demand prompts Tanzania to reinforce the ban on U.S. currency usage and warns against unregulated foreign currency markets. Tanzania explores alternatives to reduce reliance on the dollar. Consider business transactions in local currencies and joining the call for de-dollarization in Africa. The Bank of Tanzania has instructed firms in the country to stop pricing products and services in dollars, stressing that doing so is against regulatory requirements and will relieve pressure on the local currency. The Tanzanian shilling continues to be the only legal money in the nation, according to Central Bank Governor Emmanuel Tutuba. And so where is Tanzania? Well, if you look at a map, here you see Kenya, right up here. Can you see what Kenya sees? Well, Tanzania did, because see, they're right down below. You see there? That's pretty far east, and like I mentioned, I thought it was Nairobi, but actually over here was Ethiopia and Somalia. Okay, but nonetheless, that's as east as you get here, and here these eastern countries are abandoning the dollar. Is it going to stop? No, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And so that's where, if you have your faith in the strength of the dollar right now, you might want to look at it as perhaps a rug pull and a trap. And there's other places to put your money. Now, hopefully I'll finish out this video in that regard, because there's no question that the dominance and the hegemony of the US dollar is declining, folks. We have seen already that countries, the sanctions were destroying the dollars. We have seen that the countries are getting pushed away by these sanctions. We can see that countries worldwide are going on a de-dollarization campaign, and although this mentions 23 countries, we know that when we looked earlier at other information, we saw 30 countries, and surely that's not all of them, but they make up a substantial portion of the world's GDP. They're basically beginning to say, we don't need you, US. Now, the good thing about the US, one of the things that Trump mentioned when he was president, was that the US was independent in trade. It didn't have to trade. So that's good. However, to exist in a world economy, you're going to have to trade with the world. And so eventually that's going to have to be addressed with the United States government. But what matters in this video that I'm trying to cover here is how not only is this information showing that the decline in the usage of the dollar is going to have an impact on the United States and where we put our money, it's also going to have an impact on what we've all been looking forward to anyway. Because if the dollar value goes down, what the dollar buys goes up. And we're just going to have to become slightly more and more sophisticated in our management of our own monies, especially if it goes more and more democratic finances, where, like I started from the very beginning of doing these videos on YouTube, your phone will be your wallet. We will go back to gold-backed currencies and asset-backed currencies. The quantum financial system is real, and there is not going to be a global currency reset. We are in the midst of a global currency reset. And there is a transition to technology, financial technology, fintech, where blockchain and cryptocurrencies that survive will be the money of the day. And so where's some good places to put your money? I just listed some of them. And don't forget this place here. Here's where I think is safe. The central banks have been upping their gold holdings significantly now for several years. Follow the money means follow the banks, right? Now, keep in mind, I didn't say follow the money means use the banks. Follow the money means follow the banks. I can tell you that I've already begun. Before it was physical gold and silver, but now I think this is so much more convenient because it's spendable with that there debit card that you have there, that MasterCard debit card. But when it comes time to convert your crypto profits into something else, This is where I'm going, folks. I am not sponsored by them. I do not make a dime if you do it. Wish I did, but I don't. But I am telling you this because I believe it to be the right thing to do to protect your funds when you turn them into cash. Get out of cash, the dollar's a trap, and get into gold because it's a gold-backed monetary system. So, yeah, Glint's a great place, I think, for you to put your money. And I think the president of Kenya will say it best as how I will close out this video. But I'm not saying don't use the banks. I mean, use the banks to pay your bills. That's what you're used to doing. But when you got a little extra money set aside, I recommend that you not consider the dollar to be so golden until the dollar goes gold back. And I've been saying it forever to those who know me that, of course, first you got to get the little boys ready. You got to get the little boys ready before the big boy will come out to play with his gold. Oh, the U.S. is going to show up to the party with their gold too, eventually. But if they started first, there would have been nobody to trade with if the dollar was too powerful. And so that's why these other countries are getting ready first. And when you see countries like Africa getting ready, it might be a clue that we're getting close to the end. So yeah, you can put your money in some of the Benjamins. Your phone will actually certainly be your wallet. If you're in the dinar, you should be happy because as the dollar goes down, from as this video brings out, the Iraqi dinar goes up. And like I mentioned, gold. You might want to consider some of the protocols like XRP, the real protocols that aren't going anywhere when crypto dies or becomes illegal or becomes counterfeit money. That's where utility comes in because it's a utility, not a money. And then you might even consider if you're capable private investing because Ripple's going to go public. We know that. Many are going to go public. So if you can get in early, if you're one of those accredited investors or have the means to do so, do so. So I'm going to let the president finish out this video. I'm DK Will, This is DK Will Talk About It. And I've talked about it. So have a wonderful day.
And we are not against the US dollar. We just want to trade much more freely. Let us pay in US dollars what we are buying from the US. But what we are buying from Djibouti, let's use local currency.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.